Hey everyone, Adrienne here. I've turned my Zoom appearance enhancer up to 11 today so that we can do some live editing together. So I wanted to pull an article from ChatGPT because I don't like using real people's articles for this purpose. But what I've done is I've just downloaded an article about travel agents and how to find the right travel agent for you. And then I'm just going to show you as many editorial tips as I can in as little time as I can. So, one of the ways that is the easiest way to tell when an article is straight out of AI is when you go back to the edits and the first version is copied and pasted with a ton of formatting like this. So, anytime you go back to the editing history and you see just like a big copy paste, you know that it's from some kind of machine of some kind. So that's one way to tell. And then you can go through and see how many times they've edited it. Mm. So you don't really need an AI detector when it's that obvious. So one of the things I like to do here is I don't like claiming complete or ultimate or everything you need to know. That has typically qualified as a promise you can't fulfill. And that is what clickbait is the promise that you don't fulfill. I've done audits before called the Ultimate Guide audit, where I've gone back and I've edited out the word ultimate guide or everything you need to know from every article that we have, because even if your thing is 5,000 words, it's not going to be everything. Okay. So now I've taken out that part and I've turned this into a command verb that is kind of a follow along to the how to. So you're going to learn how to do it so that you can find the right travel partner. With an H1, I might even just delete that because it needs to be a little bit straightforward. So you don't have to include that if you don't want to. So in the first sentence, planning a trip, M dash, whether it's a blah, 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 can be exciting but overwhelming. All right, there's a couple different problems here. One is that ignore the M dash. I don't even care about it. It's fine. It's that this sentence doesn't say anything. All right, let's take this part out. When has anyone ever needed to come to an article to know that planning a trip can be exciting but overwhelming? That's why they're here, because they want to go on the trip, but they don't want to do the work. They want a travel agent. So you really don't need to tell them something that they already know. Often we say we want to lead with empathy. This is one of those situations where labeling what they're feeling isn't the same thing as empathy. And I'll show you why. Because one, they already know this. So they get here and they're like, okay, yes, thank you. It hurts their brain to have to read through so much stuff that they already know just to get to the answer. And that's why we say meet intent right away. The best articles for the reader are the ones that help them through their problem the fastest and the most comprehensively. So you don't need to state obvious things and you don't need to state things that are uh, that don't deliver any new information. Now let's talk about whether. So I'm just deleting that sentence altogether. Now let's talk about whether. Whether it's this or that is a crutch that I like to avoid. And you need to delete this out of all of your work. This is bad because it alienates everyone, and I'm going to tell you why. What if I'm none of those things? These are actually a small percentage of who is contacting someone for a travel agent. Maybe they're mostly international adventures, but maybe not. So what you've done is you've now created a group where everyone who reads this who's outside of that group feels excluded. Now, you might be thinking, well, I'm trying to identify my audience and speak to them. Okay, well, they already know where they're going. They don't, again, just like the obvious thing that traveling is exciting. They don't need to know that they can use a travel agent for blah, 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 unless it's new information. So if you wanted to continue to use the whether you're this or that to try to include everybody, you would need to rewrite it anyway to actually make sense. So basically, what I'm saying is instead of speaking by labeling the group, like whether you're a truck driver or a sedan driver, insurance could be for you. Like, well, obviously, it's the law. Whether you're young or old or somewhere in between, oxygen is for breathing. It's a little bit too obvious. And what it does is it makes the reader think, do I have to be that thing? Why are they telling me that thing? It's another stumbling block for their brain to have to get over. So, what I do instead is say something like, okay, now I have actually delivered new information. I'm still using M dash. See, who cares? And now I've said it doesn't have to be an international adventure, even small trips, right? Uh, and if we're worried about alienating these people, then we will continue to write about it. So that's where travel agents come in. I also don't like this line. It's just like whether you're this or that is like, it's just a cliche. And you don't want to rely on cliches because they don't always mean something to everyone. That's where what comes in. It's not always the solution for everybody. So it also doesn't deliver new information. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of collect these phrases here and then continue with editing. So now I've already said it can be less expensive and easier to plan. Now, again, I know the guide is going to walk me through that. So instead of this, I would do a short TOC. Um, or I would even say like skip to something, how to compare or list of agents. This is why I'm on the page. Again, does not deliver new information. If you want to repeat the sentence, you can. Uh, okay, great. I've used two M dashes and I don't even care. All right. And now I have a TOC. So look at what I've done. I've now said you can use it even if it's not a big trip and it's going to save you money. If I had a statistic like how much can it save you? The industry might have that in some kind of standard. And I'm okay if it came from my competitor in a lot of instances. So now I'm going to go down here. This, again, does not say anything. If a sentence doesn't deliver new information, clarify what you need, the right expertise, we know that. We know that we need someone with the right expertise. So I try not to repeat any information. Define your travel needs first. Destination. Do you need a specialist? Question mark. Do you want full service planning? Question mark. The issue I have with using how to compare or how to consider lists and answering the questions with questions is that you don't answer the question. So I call this answering a question with a question. If you have a big comparison list that's like what to look out for with XYZ, and you're asking a question, you're leaving the user with nothing but more questions. So what you want to do is you want to rewrite this to answer the question. So you're going to say something like specialists in safaris may have totally different connections and knowledge than an agent that specializes in European river cruises. Conversely, general travel agent is often more than enough for a popular destination like Mexico, Hawaii, or the Caribbean. And this is going to be obviously US centric. I'm writing it as if it's from the US. So now I'm actually delivering new information. It's a little bit longer, but I don't care because I'm now telling them the answer to the question. If you want a specialist, you should look into one. But if you're just going all inclusive in Cabo, you could still save money with a general travel agent, and that's fine. They can at least try to get you a good room. Travel type, again, it's a very big list, and we would want to know something, right? Just say like personal travel and business travel likewise vary greatly. Uh, in terms of leveraging group negotiations and uh, vacation style. Budget. Again, this is pretty obvious. I don't like saying obvious things. And that's one of my biggest issues with AI is that if you go through and you read most of the stuff, it doesn't actually deliver you new information. And that's what we're trying to do is make sure every sentence is useful in the whole article. So if I was going to make new information about budget, I'd want to say something like, if your trip is last minute over $5,000 or using rewards points, you may not need a travel agent. Or, sorry, this is backwards under. Okay, so what's the point of using one? They save you money. If they don't, maybe you shouldn't use one. I don't know what these numbers are. I'm just making them up. Support level. Uh, again, a question that's not answered. So I'm going to answer the question. I'm going to say something like, full service planning acts like a vacation concierge, while specific help with just flights or accommodations can keep things more simple, right? So now I've actually given them a reason why you might not want full service because you already have an idea of what you're going to do or whatever. Um, Once you know what you're looking for, comparing agents becomes easier. Great, we already knew that. Research their expertise. Okay, this is interesting. Uh, I would want to define what these are and then put this into parentheses. So I would just kind of like break it out and yes, this is actually useful, so that's fine. Compare reviews and reputation, check all these things, cruise forums. I might add more examples of these, testimonials, responsiveness, look for patterns rather than isolated comments. Evaluate services. Okay, again, this needs to say something. Often, there's one thing I know about agents, they'll go above and beyond. Okay, here's a good tip. This is better that it's in this kind of format. And this might cost extra. Compare fees, pricing, and value. So here's where I would move this to the top because this is important. And what we talk about when we are meeting intent is the most important things at the top. So after you know where you're going, you're going to want to know how much it costs, right? This is very interesting to know. So I feel like people want to know this, right? Then we're going to look at the services offered because that's going to be what's next, right? Because the services are going to reflect their expertise. So those can go next to each other or vice versa, flip-flopped. Okay, yes. Then of course, reviews and reputation, and then communication and responsiveness. Here's a typo. And again, it's just obviously we know this. You can just delete it. Okay. Okay, this is a good piece of information. It's like take this as a warning. Okay, cool. Ask the right questions. This is a place where you can ask questions and compare sample itineraries. That's great. Evaluate their network and access to deals. Trust your instincts. Those are all fine. Okay, and then we've got like it isn't, it is, which is a common thing that um, the AIs like to do. It it isn't and it is. The reason why is that it isn't is that you're the reason why this doesn't work is because whenever you say isn't, you are posing the thing you're gonna say against that thing. So no matter what, you're anchoring someone psychologically to it being a anti whatever you're saying before. So it's sounds like it's uh gonna be expensive if it's not just about finding the cheapest option. So now I'm just going to delete all that because it doesn't tell me anything new. And Okay. And so then I'm going to say, like, this could be fine. Yes, this is also true. Like, it's someone that you'll return to for years to come. Um, but if you've found after reading that going solo is right for you, then we'll see you out there, fellow traveler. That's fine. Okay. So now we've gone through a whole bunch of uh, edits together. I'm going to mention another one. This is one that I like to call a tense jumble because it kind of is hard to get over. Ask what exclusive benefits they can offer that you wouldn't get booking on your own. Yes, it makes sense. You'll, I can show you better examples of this, but for now, basically, they can offer, they have access to. That one's hard. Again, the agent's true expertise in what? Of what? Ask always what the meaning of the sentence is. Okay, so now I have taught a couple things. One, meet intent right away. Delete sentences that have no information. Whether you're this or that alienates everyone. That's where X comes in as a cliche. Just don't use cliches. It's not about this, is about that. Creates anchoring, so just delete it. Tense jumbles are can be rewritten. And anytime you have a tense jumble that you don't like, just delete up to the verb and turn it into a command verb. So instead of the complete guide to finding the next da, 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 just delete it all up to find the. And that's it for now.